We'll just kick it off with whoever wants to start. Okay, Lara, go ahead.
Hi everyone, my name is Laura Lay and I'm with the women's wrestling brand Reaper Wrestling. And my question is for Kayla Miracle. So going into Olympic team trials, 62 kilos is arguably the deepest weight class, even with considering the last chance Olympic qualifier entries. You know, got yourself, got Mallory Velty, Julia Salata, Jen Page, Maya Nelson, and a great class of up and coming college wrestlers. Do you think 62 is the deepest weight class? And what are your thoughts on this current pool of competition?
I mean, I'm definitely gonna think that my weight class is the toughest. You know, you have myself and then a world bronze medalist who I've had to battle for 2 years in a row at Final X. So we have that. We have Macy Kilty coming up. We have Maya Nelson. They have age group world medals, you know, so just a ton of studs. But you look at 50 kilos and that is crazy. Who's gonna win on what day? You have no idea. And it's just, I'm excited to watch it. And I'm glad that I don't have to deal with it. I'm glad I'm not part of that. And then 57 as well. You know, I have a bunch of teammates here. I train with 3 57 girls, Allie Reagan, Abby, Nettie, and Gracie Figueroa every single day. And all 3 of those are studs. And then you have Helen, of course, and Jenna, of course. So I think any weight class is going to be really tough at trials. And I'm just kind of excited. I'm really glad that I'm sitting in the finals and I don't have to deal with the mess before. You know, they can fight it out and one of them can come after me.
I will go to Kyle Klingman with Flow Wrestling.
Jaden, how have you adjusted to moving up to 97 kilos?
I've adjusted great. You know, it was a little rough at first. I was a little light, you know, so I originally my plan was to go down to 86. And so getting the weight to pack back on was a little tough. But now I walk around at pretty much like 223, 222. And honestly, I'm feeling better and moving better than I ever have. You know, I'm just ready to get some matches. And honestly, with however long this year's been, just kind of get this over with, you know, just get it rolling and let's get the show on the road.
We'll move over to Creason. Go for it. You're muted right now.
Hi, Kayla. It's Tim Creason from the South Bend Tribune. You sat with me in 2016 after you were eliminated at the trials, and the phrase I remember specifically you saying 2 or 3 times is, things are going to change. Well, what has changed in the last 5 years?
What hasn't changed? My whole entire world is upside down. I moved to Iowa for a few years. And, you know, we were in Iowa City whenever we did that interview. So it's crazy. I got to spend a few years there with some awesome coaches. And then Mark Perry became my guy, the guy that I want in my corner at the Olympic trials and at the Olympics. So he got a job down here in Arizona. So I moved down here and a few of my other training partners came down here. So it's been wild training with Sunkist Kids Regional Training Center and then Neuroforce. And there are just so many different aspects of my life that have changed, and I've just kind of honed in on the smallest bits of nutrition or getting blood work, seeing what little things that I can do to make myself just optimized. It's not a guessing game, and I'm not just a college kid that's going through the motions. It's a science now. You know, I'm here to really do it.
Okay, fair enough.
We'll move on to, I don't want to mispronounce your name, but Vay Gregorian.
I knew that was me when you said that. Yeah, it's Vay Gregorian. A question for Jaden. Jaden, that last time we spoke was about a year ago, and we were just then kind of talking about how you were handling this situation physically and mentally. And I wonder if you could somehow summarize the last year and what the greatest challenges have been to you and in continuing to compete.
Well, I think, you know, one thing is finding ways and avenues to compete alone. That was a struggle. And I think this year has been really difficult on all athletes, especially as far as getting competitions, but also weighing out the risk factor in there as well. And like also getting competitions, but also trying to stay consistent with training has been a hassle on everybody, because you go do a competition and then you come back and you got to take 2 weeks off pretty much to quarantine and stuff. And so it's kind of been kind of crazy. So, I mean, trying to figure out a schedule that works with continuing to grow, but also getting what you need as far as competitions, as the looks. I mean, even as simple as getting training partners is hard. And it's especially hard on if you're traveling, because you still have to quarantine when you get there. So, I mean, it's all around been rough. I mean, it's kind of what Kayla said, your world's kind of just flipped upside down. And so I think that's probably, those things have kind of been the most difficult. I think at first it was just finding a place to train, finding ways to train, and adjusting as fast and as quick as possible. But now as things have gone on and, you've kind of gotten into the swing of things, it's been a little bit better. So I'm looking forward to showcasing everything when the time comes.
Along those lines too, Jaden, could you maybe speak to what ways you think you've grown in the last year? It's been such an odd time, but I know how pensive you are. And I'm sure you've tried to use this constructively, whether it's, expanding your singing repertoire or what you've read or things like that. Could you share that too, please?
Well, I definitely read a lot, but I read a lot more now. But I think that for me, I think the way that I've grown a lot is where I used to be somebody, especially in my personal life, I used to struggle with things like depression and struggling with things in my own head and everything. And I'm not saying I used to, like, they're gone, but I definitely still hold those things in my heart. But I think in a way, like, I kind of became an avenue for others who hadn't had to deal with certain things, where certain outside factors caused them to feel, this sadness or a sense of losing themselves. When, we talk about sports, where people use things like this as a sense of identity. And I think in the same sense as talking with other people through that, about how to really figure out who they are and how to carry themselves through this, that's also helped me as well. So I think it's kind of been a double-edged sword with that, as far as usefulness. I've talked with universities, I've talked with sports teams, all about, things going on and how to deal with it, and what to do when feeling certain ways within this, pandemic. And so, I think I've definitely grown, that not only as someone who's overcoming his own battles and his own strife, but is also helping others and mentoring others to help them do the same.
And sorry to be a ball hog, I'll stop on this one, but if I'm understanding you right, it sounds like part of whatever challenges you faced with mental health that you've spoken about openly before have actually been helped by this process in some way. Am I hearing that right? That you think this has been a way forward in some sense?
I think so, and I think that I've been blessed with people in my life who have helped me overcome my struggles. And I think with that, going into this situation that, kind of abruptly came upon us, I was prepared to kind of deal with it and to face it. And, I think that it's kind of like wrestling. When you wrestle yourself, like, you can get as good as you want, but when you coach too, when you're teaching somebody else, you actually grow a lot from that as well. And so I think it was just kind of the same factor there, where I was helping others with their struggles as well, and trying to help them to overcome the battles that I've faced as well. And I think the biggest thing for me that was awesome, that probably helped me, was that I think I've known this, but there's always good to get, I guess, some sort of clarity on it, that you're not alone in this. And that was kind of my message to a lot of these people, is like, you're not alone. A lot of people are facing this, and like, to not be afraid to talk about it, because more than likely somebody else wants to talk about it too, and you're frightened so much to do so because they think that they're the only ones. And so when you feel these emotions, you feel this way, go ahead and talk to somebody, talk to everyone. Bring it up. You shouldn't be ashamed to talk about the struggles that you're going through, especially when more than likely a lot of other people are going through it too.
I've got more for you, but I'm going to step back in line in case there's there's others that want to get back to you.
For sure.
Appreciate it. We'll go with Nick Sicardi next.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for taking the time. I've got a question for Jaden and for Kayla, actually, same question. Have you guys been told what the COVID testing protocols will be at trials and what happens if you happen to test positive, and just your thoughts on that?
I haven't watched the interview or the Zoom call that we had yet, but it breaks down everything. But from what I understand, we have to test 72 hours before we show up, and then we test every single day. So upon arrival, and then every day before the tournament. So we're getting there Tuesday, when typically I wouldn't get there until Thursday if I'm not wrestling until Saturday type of thing. So we're getting there a lot earlier than usual. And we're going to make sure to be testing and being in our bubble and staying safe. And then if we test positive, I mean, I would assume that we would go right into quarantine, and I don't know, I guess I need to watch that Zoom call to find out for sure.
Well, from what I've been told, like if you test positive, like you have to, like, they're not only, it won't be only be you, like it'll be everyone you've been in contact with as well. And so they're gonna quarantine you all, which would suck, obviously. And I'm not looking forward to getting tested every day, because I'm pretty sure it's a nose swab, and I have yet to get that. And so I have a bunch of challenges that I'll be facing at the Olympic trials. So I mean, we'll figure it out. But no, Kayla's right on the money. You know, we'll test 72 hours before. I'm actually going to test on the 29th. We've got a test here at the OTC that you know, we get the results in 30 minutes, and then we have to test again there just to have access to the facility. As far as wrestling, you know, lifting, everything. So it's definitely going to be interesting, but I have high hopes, especially with how it was ran. Everything was run at the NCAAs and how we haven't had any, you know, positive tests. So I'm hopeful, and, you know, I hope everybody's just doing what they need to do to be safe.
Thank you, guys.
Eric Bloom, you're up next.
Hey, my question for Jaden. It's Eric Blum from the Columbia Tribune. Just curious, you mentioned in one of your earlier questions, you kind of found your rhythm in working out with COVID and staying in the best shape possible. Whatever you'd like to share about that kind of just routine you found and how it compares to your old routine, I'd like to hear the answer to that. Thank you.
Well, it actually involved other people. You know, I started working out literally across the street. I'm looking at the park right now, and I would have like weights and stuff, and I'd be wrestling people out there. And, you know, it's kind of crazy. You know, I met some people who live in my neighborhood, and they were like, well, he looks like, you know, he's in shape and he knows what he's doing. And so they wanted to get in shape. So they started joining. And so we would do my workouts, they would do them with us. And it's been great. You know, I have one of them that's lost close to 35 pounds. And she's loving it. I had a few others and that joined, and they were losing weight quick. And we talked about dieting and from everything. So really them joining actually made me, you know, helped me and made me stay on track even more, because, you know, I'd go to practice in the mornings and I go to my lift and I come back, and right when I get back from my lift, I'm putting these guys through a workout and, you know, and doing another workout with them. And, you know, seeing the grind and the work they were willing to put in, it, you know, it kind of made me do one of those like no excuses kind of type deals for myself. So it just kept me on track. It was a lot of fun, and I've made great friends that will last a lifetime, and they've accomplished, you know, things that they didn't even think was possible. I mean, I remember one of them, we walked around the park, couldn't make it a lap around the park, and now she can run 5 laps around the park without stopping. You know, it's like, it's amazing. And so, I mean, stuff like that has not only been helpful from my training, but also just my mentality, just seeing something great and good prosper through all this, you know, strife, whether it's pandemic, whether it's the politics, everything like this. This is the one thing that's like been awesome to see and recognize through this. And, you know, it just put a fire in me to work even harder and to push myself even more.
Oh, did you guys hear any of that? Okay. Laura Lay, you're up next. Jack Hurley, you're on deck.
Hi, I have one more question for Kayla Miracle. this is the first time that USA Wrestling will be sending a full women's freestyle squad to Tokyo, representing each of the 6 Olympic weight classes. What does that mean to you that women's freestyle will show, the full range of competition at Olympic team trials this year?
I mean, Coach Terry has talked about it a lot. The goal is to beat Japan on their soil. So going in with a full lineup is already a huge advantage. I think as of right now, not all the qualifiers are done, but as of right now, we're the only country with all 6 women's weights qualified. So that's really huge. And it's awesome. We have really great girls in this country. So we had Tamara and Adeline get the job done early. That was awesome. If we could have gotten all 6 done there at the World Championships, that would have been great. But the other 4 of us, we had to battle it out, win our spots, and then we went to Ottawa. And that was right as COVID started to happen. And I remember feeling super uneasy. Sarah and I were roommates, and for a little bit, we were like, what if they shut this down? What if this happens? They just canceled NCAAs. All these bad things can happen. And eventually we were like, we got to get this job done. Like, this is what we're here to do. We're here to qualify the weight for the country. And then we're setting ourselves up for the best position, because we have no idea what's about to happen. We didn't know trials were going to be pushed back a year, but by doing the job then and just staying in it, it set us up, for the perfect position in 2 weekends. So, but having a super strong lineup already, it's incredible. It's amazing to be a part of.
All right, Jack Hurley, you're next.
Hey, this is Jack Hurley from the Fight Site. Question for Jaden. So you've done a little bit of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, some videos with BJJ Fanatics. Do you actively train in Jiu-Jitsu right now?
Oh gosh, no. I like to breathe and have my limbs attached. It's kind of like I would probably do jiu-jitsu in like a spare time and whatnot. Like if I was around and everything, I enjoyed it while I was there with BJJ Fanatics. It was it was awesome. But no, I don't train it. Though it is fun. I have to give that. Like I especially like doing it with the gi. But no, I can't do it right now. I was actually asked to be a part of they had the trials because for BJJ at the OTC in 2019. And they asked me, I walked in, they asked me if I wanted to go for the 220 weight class, I think it was. And I was just like, yeah, no, I'm good, man. Those guys look like they want to hurt somebody, and that's just not my field.
All right, so I put a little order of who's next just to keep up with our time, but Cody Goodwin, you'll go next, and Mark Bader, you're after him.
Sweet. I got one for both. I'll start with Jaden. The overall depth of the men's freestyle field over the last few years, I mean, really over the last few cycles, it's grown tremendously. What do you kind of point to as the starting point to this kind of flourish of talent on the men's freestyle side?
Well, I think the obvious answer is it's technology. People being able to experience techniques, events, see things, from flow to track to everything. Like everybody's able to see what they want to see and get better. But also, I don't know. I've kind of had like a different thought process, where we've had a lot of guys who are internationally great. But at the same time, I think we also have a lot of guys who have a lot of growth that needs to be done as far as winning medals, So I used to kind of get into debacles when people would say, like, well, we have so much depth in America. And it's just like, well, we have good wrestlers. We have depth within ourselves, but when we go overseas, it's a different story, And so we have national champion. Like, how many NCAA champions do we have that don't have medals at the world and Olympic level? And so I think that the next step is what we're doing that I think is really cool, is that we have all these camps that are going together, where you have guys who have the experience, guys who are mentoring. You have guys like JB and, Kyle Snyder, who have really been mentors to guys coming up and coming in. And I think that's been a huge part for us. And as far as just being a team and being able to have these guys who have not only done it, but know how to talk about it in a way to prepare you for what's to come. And so I think that, Bill Zadek, KJ, Joe Russell have done a great job as far as getting us with camps. And on top of that, those guys who have those experiences, not just, turning the wayside and being like, it's all about me, but focusing also on growing others as well, realizing that, we represent ourselves, yes, when we go out there, but we also represent, Team USA. And one day we're not going to be on Team USA, and somebody else is going to have to be in that spot to win those medals and to go through that grind. And so whatever we can give to prepare those guys, like that's what's gonna make the difference, I believe.
I like that. Thanks, man. And then Kayla, I asked Sarah a variation of this question, but just the growth of girls and women's wrestling at virtually every level in the country. And then you combine that with the fact that 6 of you girls are going to go compete, 6 of you women are going to go compete at the Olympics. Do you kind of sense or feel kind of the opportunity that whoever makes the team is going to have to maybe really help, with representation and just the overall growth and help it continue at these highest levels and the trickle down effect? I mean, have you thought about that at all?
Yeah, I mean, I always looked up to Clarissa Chun when I was a kid. I remember being at Reno World and she was doing some vitamin thing, the things that they do, whatever. And I was the little girl that was sitting there right by that table the whole time between my matches. Like, she was an idol to me. And now she's one of my coaches, someone that I can call if I need help with a technique or I had a bad day, whatever it is, So the idols that I look up to. And then you have Trisha Saunders, a pioneer of the sport. She's calling and checking in on me. She's making sure I have everything I need. If I need any work done or technique or mindset, whatever it is, she's always looking out for me. So just all these people. And I know that wrestling has a great culture. We always want to give back. We want to build the sport because no one else is going to build it for us. We have to do it. And I want to see the sport get as big as it can on both the men's and women's side. And the NCAA tournament had a great turnout, but it can be better. I was walking into a cookie shop with my family. My aunt and uncle were in town, and we went to go get these cookies, and they had the NCAA tournament on the TV. So it's really cool to see the sport growing, but I'm going to have to be part of it. I'm going to have to reach out and help these girls. I'm going to have to run camps, do clinics, anything that I can, be a coach, and help to grow the sport and promote the sport. And I think people like Jaden have done a really great job with this. And I'm excited to really get my foot in the door, build on the accolades and then have an even louder voice.
All right, Bader, you're up, and Derek, you're on deck.
All right, this is for Jaden. Well, first of all, what's up with, I think there's 9 plaques over your right shoulder. Those can't all be yours. What are those? Whose are those?
Well, they are all mine, and those are just NCAA titles and MAC championships and whatnot. I had nowhere. I didn't have anywhere else to put them, so I just put them up there, I guess.
Okay, fair enough. I thought they were all from NCAA.
Oh, come on, Cody. I wasn't flexing. It's just the angle that so happened to be there.
Yeah. And, okay, how about this? Compare to going into this Olympic trials, where you seem you're like, I just ready to get it done with, like that. There's a lot of confidence from that statement versus 2016, where you're the 9 seed, you hadn't been on the senior level, you don't maybe know where you stand.
I mean, I think obviously there's a difference. I don't have to start all the way to the beginning. I get to sit out in the semis. I think for me, this is a different one because this is the second time that I've had to give up my spot and fight for it back. And I don't want to use the word that I'm angry or I'm pissed off, but it's just kind of like after this, for me, no one will have proven that they were supposed to be on these teams more than I. I've had to give up my spot for 86. I've had to give up my spot again because I was at 92. And so now I have to go through the grind again to make it at 97. And so for me, it's more of like, I always say this, but it never seems to be the case where it's like people ask me, how long are you going to wrestle for? My answer is like, until I got nothing left to prove to myself. And well, all that this did for me was have a much more that I have to prove to myself again and again. So I have a lot to prove to myself for this coming trials. I have a lot, I do have a chip on my shoulder from this. I do have a goal and something to aim for as far as what I'm trying to do on this level. And so, it's just kind of like, I've told KJ this before. I'm like, after this, I am not giving up my spot anymore. Like what is mine. I've earned it. I have fought for it. I have bled for it. I have gone and represented this country and this team for it. I've done it time and time again. After this spot is mine. I am sitting, period, the end.
And last thing, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's like, so that's the role. That's the goal.
I would ask you if you have a game plan, because Kyle's sitting. I know you don't game plan. So I guess the better question is, what does Kyle Snyder do best? Where is he good?
He's great at overwhelming people, pushing the pace, and I think that what makes Kyle Snyder great is that he makes grown men ask the question and question themselves as far as like, do I want to do this? Am I willing to do what I have to do? Am I willing to hand fight correctly? Am I willing to clear the ties correctly? Am I willing to sprawl? Am I willing to do because I've watched Kyle, I've wrestled him, and I'm not, and I want to make sure like I'm not taking a dig or anything, but if you ever watch him, he doesn't do anything like that. Just blows your mind out the water. Like he does. It's very rare that you'll see a highlight tape and then there's Kyle doing some flashy thing. So it's just not what he does. So but what makes him special is that ability for him to make you go to a place that you question everything you've ever done in your career. You question every workout. Did you do enough? Are you ready for this? Everything like that. And so I think that's what makes him special. And I think what makes him even more special is that for him, when he gets there, no matter what the situation, no matter what's put in front of him, the answer for him is always yes. Yes, I'm going to do this. And when you're like that, the moment you say no and I'm in a hand fight, he pulls on your head and you're like, you know what? I'm not going to clear it right. I'm just going to pull my head up and stand up. And he's like, I'm yes, he's going to come and get you. That's mine. I'm going to come and get this. And so that's what makes him special. And so I think that, that's something I've been preparing for, fighting for. I'm excited for it, but also at the same time, my mindset isn't on Kyle. My mindset's on, one, making it to Kyle, and two, mainly it's just like, I'm here to prove why I deserve this. I'm not here to prove why anyone doesn't or why he does or nothing. Like, I'm here for me.
Awesome. Thanks.
Go for it, Derek.
Hey, Kayla, this is for you. First of all, congrats on Campbellsville's NAIA championship team title. You had a great college career at Campbellsville, 4-time WCWA champion, and yet you called yourself Kayla 2.0 for a while there after your college career. Can you talk about your development on the senior level and what made you jump levels as somebody who was already a dominant wrestler at the college level? What is it that caused you to jump levels, after being in your father's program at Campbellsville and, moving into the senior level?
Yeah, so that program, it actually just being coached by Lee Miracle, he laid a really great foundation. The technical skills, just the mindset, mat awareness, things like that. But then the 2.0 came when I added all the other little aspects. I had a different mindset or a different look from Mark Perry or Tom Brands or Terry Brands. I'll hear them in my head still. Tom and Terry, they haven't coached me in how long? In months since COVID started. And I still hear like horsepower, little things like that. And then honing in on strength and conditioning. I didn't weight train in college. I went to practice, and because I was fairly good with my technique, I was able to beat up on college girls. And then there's a different level. You know, if I stayed at the level that I was in college, I would maybe be number 5 on the ladder. You know, like I'd be there, I'd make some noise, I'd maybe win some trophies here and there, but I would never make a world team. I would never be ready to do it. So making that jump was so vital in my progression in the sport, because if I stayed that low, I would lose all sense of, I guess, motivation. Just losing, I would get pounded on. And then going into a training room with Forrest Molinari and Allie Reagan, if I wanted to stay where I was, I would definitely quit, because that is a tough room to be in, and you've got to fight every single day to survive. So iron sharpens iron type of thing. But yeah, that Kayla 2.0 definitely is a real thing. Completely different person, mindset, physically, technically, all of it. Everything's just kind of coming together.
All right, guys, we're running a little late, but we're going to finish up with the 3 that we had ready to go, which is Rachel, and then Tim, and then Vi. So then we'll move on to the next one.
My question is for both Kayla and Jaden. I'd like to know how much variation has there been around the country in terms of what wrestlers have had available to them over the past year with finding training partners, getting into the gym, being able to compete. And do you think that's going to play a significant part in the trials, the fact that some people have had a harder time than others with their preparations over the past year?
So for me, thinking about it and what we've kind of lost and the stability that we all had, Karen, the sports psych for Team USA, she said, everybody's going through this. Everybody's dealing with the same thing. So we can't look at it as a disadvantage. So Jaden having to train in the park or me having to train in the backyard, those aren't disadvantages, because everyone has to do that. We all have to adapt and figure out a way around this. And then I think it just depends on where you're at, what program you're with, is to how much training we have now. So my situation with Sunkist Kids, we have a very great, safe training spot. We thought we were going to train at ASU on campus, but we found a different place to train. We test weekly. We have our own little bubble, and it's great. And we're in full swing. We're doing everything we need. So, but it's very different. Some people might have to only do individuals, or they can only work with one person, or they have to test every single day. So I can't speak to them, but my training is really good.
Yeah, I think I'm with Kayla. It depends where you're at. I mean, some people have had, more success as far as, finding places to train, the adjustments they've been able to make. So I definitely think that it will play a factor, because I think those who are willing and able to be the most consistent are going to benefit the most, So, I think that is something that will definitely play a factor in some of these matches. I mean, I think if anything, one of the things that I think we'll see a lot of is, we'll see either some people with rust, some people who maybe conditioning's not up to par as it was before. I think that there are going to be a lot of guys and gals who actually weren't as prepared as they may have thought they were. And that'll be mainly because of maybe, the training situation that they were in or were not able to have. And so I guess we'll wait and see, but definitely those who were able to be the most consistent, I think will benefit the most.
All right, Tim, you're up.
Okay. It's not like you get out of bed in the morning and decide today I think I'll go win the Olympic trials. There's a long build-up and peaking period that you have to go through to get to that spot. A year ago, you were at your peak. Then they told you had to wait a year. How did you bring yourself down off of that quickly? And then what has been harder to bring yourself back up to that peak again, emotionally or physically? And that's for both of them, Jaden and Kayla.
So for me, yeah, it was mentally, I was not very happy. I was ready. I was 3 weekends away from making my first Olympic team. I was in the best position possible. So mentally I was pretty beat up. But then, I was like, take this time. We don't know what's going to happen. I have a few weeks, at this point, they didn't say we have a whole year. So I'm going to go visit family. I'm going to go hang out with people and just enjoy the time off, because we don't get to do that all that often. So I just kind of distracted myself with everything. And I honestly didn't train very much, maybe twice a week. I got tired of running. So my little brother and sister, they're into CrossFit. So they had a few weights at the house. So we would do some workouts every once in a while, but I was not in it at all. I was not in the mindset of I'm going to win an Olympic gold medal. I'm going to make the Olympic team, none of that. And then there were actually points where I was like, do I want to do this? Do I want to get back into it? And when we first got back on the mat, it was kind of tough, because right when I got access to a mat, I got COVID. So that kind of knocked me on my butt a little bit. So I was already out of shape, and then that made it 10 times worse. But that came back. It hurt, and it took a few weeks of not fun workouts, but I'm feeling stronger than I ever have. I'm leaner than I've ever been. My lungs are doing great. And then mentally, it just came back. You find the joy within the day. There's this one quote, and it says, the daily grind should produce fresh brewed happiness. And I think that's so on par with what we do every single day. It's a grind. This is not fun at all. It's not the most luxurious lifestyle. But the daily grind, you find the joy within it. And that's I woke up this morning and I was like, it's going to be a really good day. And then I went to practice, and I had a really great practice, and I walked out of there and I'm like, wow, I feel really bad for whoever makes it out of the bracket at 62, because it's not going to be pretty.
Dang, man. I wish I could talk trash like that. No, but, for me, I'm pretty easygoing. I was more concerned with people's, well-being and health, and hearing about everything that was going on, what people were going through, and some people had suffered. I'd like to see, I was one of the athletes that was just like, hey, like, things got to change. I remember I tweeted, like, if things don't change, I won't go to the Olympics, even if they were held. And so, I remember that all going on, and was it easy? Yeah, no, it wasn't easy, especially for me. Like, I'm going off of I'm coming off of, being a 2-time world champion, and I'm ready to go. I came off a great performance at Worlds. I'm rocking and rolling, and I'm hungry, and I'm like, let's go, but I definitely had to put other things, put things in the right order as far as perspective and what mattered. And to be honest, after I'm kind of with Kayla, after like things kind of like we're told, hey, this is shutting down, this isn't going to happen. I was really hoping I could get some tattoos, but I couldn't do it because, the pandemic just screwed that plan over. It would be like the first time in my life I was able to get a tattoo and not worry about it getting ruined by wrestling somebody. So like, I was like really wanting to do that, couldn't do that. And so really all I did was like, I called Kilgore and I was like, hey, bring me some weights. I couldn't wrestle on the mat yet, but I went in the weight room, and the weight room, that being my garage at the moment in time, and started, just hitting the weights and hitting the Aerodyne and just grinding as much as I could with the situation that I was in. So, it was definitely crazy. And I think that, kind of, I don't mean to, go back to this, but like, I was called a lot, when things were hard on other athletes, and hey, we want to talk about, certain feelings and stuff. I think that really gave me a new sense of purpose in the time that was, as far as, I'm not meant to be, Jaden Cox, the wrestler at this moment in time, which I've talked about a plethora of times. If I'm only known as Jaden Cox and I'm only known as a great wrestler when my day comes, then, I failed. So it gave me another avenue as far as what I was supposed to be in that moment. And in this moment, I didn't need to be an athlete. I didn't need to be the person who was, grinding and killing themselves and trying to compete and figure out this and that. I needed to be a voice for those who needed, it's been a great ride. I think my main thing with all that's been going on is and I've said this a lot, but like trying to listen to understand people's viewpoints and not trying to listen to respond, not to have something to say back. But I think one of the biggest things is just to lead by example. You know, if you want something to change and be the example that you want, you know, to be showed. And so what I try to do. I think the biggest thing for me through all of this was trying to be genuine. You know, I've read, I read everything. So I've seen comments, especially on, you know, these social issues. And, you know, I think that the biggest thing is like trying to just be genuine to people, not looking to hurt anybody or anything, you know, fight for what is right, and do what needs to be done. But, you know, genuinely try to, communicate, be kind, and be loving. And that's the example that I try to uphold. And through all this craziness, you know, it's been hard. You know, there's been a lot of questions. You know, I've had talks with friends who don't even know how to even walk down the street anymore, you know, or how to even deal with all the craziness that's been going on, or how to talk about it. And and it's been rough, but at the same time, it's been eye-opening, because I know even with my own personal experience with certain things, I remember there was a time where I just felt alone, and oh, that's just I've only experienced this. And then, you know, I have to commend Nate for bringing everyone together on the BWA and saying, you know, hey, we've experienced it, we feel this. And so, and really, once we all realized that we all had this, I guess, in common of as far as what we've gone through and what we experience and what we feel, it really made us, you know, built us up and made us stronger to voice our opinions on things that need to change and things that need to be recognized and looked at. And I believe that in this country, you know, we need to take a look back, you know, because this is stuff that, you know, people look at it and they're like, it's something new. It's not new. Everything that's happened is everything that's been happening has been happening throughout our history. It is a part of American history, you know. And I know we want to sit here and say, you know, America is the greatest country in the world. And to me, I think that it is. But the problem with that is whenever you start looking at something and you start saying that it's fine just the way it is, that's when the downfall starts to happen. And that's when when you start saying oh, it's great, it doesn't mean that it's perfect. You know, it doesn't mean that we can't get better. It doesn't mean things don't need to change, you know, and that's from every social issue that you can think of. And so, you know, America is great. Yes, I will give you that. But at the same time, America still needs to grow. We are a young country, and we are not that far from the past of when things were a lot different. And so whenever people want to come in and they want to talk about these social issues, they need to remember that these are social issues that are not just brought up. It did not just happen. These are things that have been a part of our history throughout time. And that when they understand that, all right, that's when you know you can have a conversation with it. I always know I can't really have a conversation with someone who thinks this stuff is just brand new. It's not, all right? The only problem was in school, they didn't teach you about it. They didn't tell you about it. You know, you didn't research about it, all right? That's how I know you don't understand what's really going on. Whenever I say, this is what's going on, and you're like, what? And it's like, no, it's not what, it's always been, all right? And so that's kind of where I come from about it, and trying to open people's eyes to that this is not new. This is stuff that's been around.
Jaden, thank you so much. And Kayla, thank you so much. You guys are both so eloquent and such great ambassadors for your sport. We're lucky to get this time with you.
Thank you guys for having us.
All right.
You said it well. All right, guys. Well, Jaden and Kayla are signing off, and we're going to get our other three athletes up in a couple of minutes.